Hi, it's Dr. Dina Churchill, innovator in health and wellness, and today is September the 12th, 2020. This is going to be a video for parents and kids. So I'm going to talk a little bit about schools and masks. If you haven't seen a video that I did 2 weeks ago, I've uploaded it onto the YouTube channel, and it was titled An Important Message for Parents. Thanks, Andrea. I hope you can hear me. I'm hooked up to a mic here. But before we start, I just want you to take a big breath in. Hold it. And exhale. Let's try one more breath. Ready? Inhale. Hold it. Exhale. So it's important for us to breathe, because in all this kind of stress and chaos, what we're wanting to do is kind of hold our breath, and that creates kind of more anxiety and more stress for us. So let's do one more breath. Ready? Inhale. Big belly breath into your lungs. Hold. And exhale. So maybe by being out here in nature with me, you can feel the love and the beauty and the strength that we get from nature and from the earth. Because truly this is going to be your balancing tool through the whole thing. Our Schumann resonance, right? The 7.83 hertz is what you get when you connect with the earth. Without your rubber-soled shoes, sit on the ground, lie on the ground, breathe in the air, and ground yourself. So you'll need that for what I'm going to talk about next. Thanks for watching, Diane, Beverly, Thomas, and Angie. If there's any comments, if you want to add some links to things that I'm saying, please feel free to do so. I'm just going to see if I can turn this around. Okay, I think we're good there. Maybe. Let me just turn it a little bit more here. I think that's better. Right there. Good. So what I want to talk about, I'm on a hill here. I'm in my stepdad's backyard. Okay. Oh, that might be good. I just want to make sure we got some light. Maybe if I put something underneath that. Okay, there we are. So I wanted to talk about masking. So in that video that I posted up onto the YouTube channel, Important Message for Parents, was my recommendation, and I'm getting lots of emails right now from mothers, and truly it opens and breaks my heart at the same time, and I apologize for those who I haven't gotten back to. My email's been a little crazy lately, but I'm hoping that if I do this video and put out all of my thoughts, then this is something I can forward on to those who have questions. But the video I did a few weeks ago, my recommendations were keep your kids home from school. Don't let them wear masks because it reduces their oxygen. And again, no shots, because these chemical injections are dangerous. For those of you who don't know, I was a chiropractor for 22 years, and my license was suspended for speaking about the vaccine injuries that I'd seen in my practice. So I hadn't vaccinated my own kids. They're 22 and 19 now. But after I'd seen, the injuries, I started asking questions to the health department and to different associations. To Justin Trudeau sent me even a reply from a lot of literature that I'd sent him. So my license was suspended really for asking these questions about vaccine truths. And so I kept digging and sending emails to MLAs and MPs and trying to find solitude and answers. And then the media picked up the story, and my name was dragged through the media, and they called me everything from kind of delusional, anti-vaxxer, I don't know, all sorts of different crazy titles. But it wasn't exactly my choice method of having, my Google ratings increase. But in any case, media is media. But the bottom line is that was through that experience, that personal experience, that I began to see the corruption. What's happening right now, if you're sending your kids to school, is that you don't understand how the system works. You think the government is protecting you, and they're not. How do I know that? Because if you're reporting an injury, if you see something that's damaging kids, that's causing autoimmune disorders, that's causing asthma, eczema, and autism, if you're reporting this and they're ignoring you, It means they're not caring. This is why the Vaccine Act was put in 1986, to protect vaccine companies, not your kids. This is why the Telecom Act was put in 1996, protects cellular companies against liability and death. They're not protecting you. And then the Monsanto Act in 2013 was to protect big businesses that were chemically putting chemicals in our food. They're protecting the big companies. They're not protecting you. So again, on a call last night with a friend, he said, organic food is kind of a crazy idea, right? Because all food is organic until they poison us with chemicals, the glyphosate, genetically modifying things. It's absolutely nuts, the world we're living in. But we can change our perspective, we can change our mind, and we can bring it back to sort of a natural law of the universe. And this is what I've been studying recently as a way to circumvent the system that's broken. So if parents, you had to send your kids back. So some of the moms had to send their kids back for different reasons. One almost broke my heart. But one mother was reporting that her husband, her former spouse, the child's father, children's father, was actually taking her to court because she wanted to homeschool her kids. Now, I don't know. I mean, I don't want to blame fathers because I'm sure there's mothers in the same thing. But look, keep this out of family court. Right? There's enough problems in the world right now. Get together. The parent who's more educated, who understands the corruption in the system and is trying to protect your kids, the onus is on you to educate the other person, to educate your spouse. I don't know if you can still see me. It looks like the screen is gone dark. Now, let's turn it this way. Am I still in there? Okay. But the onus is on you, really, to educate your spouse. Otherwise, they feel fearful. And that's the only reason why they'd want to take you to court, is because they're feeling fearful and they don't understand the paradigm. So education's really important. But parents get on the same page and understand the corruption in the system. So the school system is under the crown. It's a corporation under the government, right? And right now, the governments are acting in a tyrannical way. How do I know that? Because the governments purchased these COVID testing kits a year before there was even a pandemic, right? They changed the legislation. If you go to the Nova Scotia Health Protection Act, you will see, page 23, it was amended June 4th, 2019 to include quarantine, lockdown, removal of your child without parent consent. So this all was put in place before this pandemic came up. So it's corrupt. Now, people will say to me, well, do you think all the MLAs are corrupt? No, I don't think they're all corrupt. I think they're all trapped in the system and don't have the balls to stand up to the cabal. They're working like in a whipped way, a whipped vote. They have to kind of align with what their party leaders are telling them, and it's corrupt. Justin Trudeau is on the hook for crimes against kids, genocide in BC. There's thousands of graves where Indigenous kids have been murdered, and Murder by Decree is a great website for that, is a resource. But and Justin Trudeau also, you remember, has a logo that looks like the pedophile logo. He has been listed as being on Jeffrey Epstein's plane, right? The sex offender. And I think it was 2017, sent $20 million to the Clinton Foundation out of our Canadian tax-paying dollars. For what? Prostitution? Child sex slavery in Haiti? We have Canadians, we have to ask what is happening to our hard-earned money. We are funding the World Health Organization, right? All the MLAs, anyone that's replied to me in the last 3 years have said we're following the mandates from the World Health Organization. Well, the World Health Organization has a mandate to kill using vaccines since 1973. So is that really the health authority that you want to be paying money towards? So this is problematic, and we need to kind of take back control of our power and our money. And I'll talk a little bit about that in a second with the common law. But if your child is in school and you have to put them back in the system, what you need to do is put everybody on notice. This is going to be your plan B. So last week, the Council of Assemblies, of Common Law Assemblies, put together a COVID restriction outlaw, if you will. It's a bylaw that they put through. Now, is this enforceable? So people have been commenting to me saying, is this true? Is this a farce? Is this fake? No, it's true. It's absolutely true. They've put this in place, the Common Law Council of Canada, and we're outlawing restrictions, COVID measures, outlawing mandatory vaccines, because that is our common law. That's what's common to the ground. That's what's common to the land. That's what's common to our heart. Not the corrupt cabal, not the governments that are bowing to this queen who's putting the 5G technologies in place and who paid for the coronavirus. You know, her name's on the patent. So we need to kind of change up the paradigm. But so put everybody on notice. The teacher, right? Make them personally accountable. Use their name, as Kevin Annette said last night in a video. Use their name. Make them personally accountable that your child is not to be masked, your child is not to be injected, and if your child gets sick, you are to be called. They're not to be quarantined. They're not to be taken to a quarantine facility, which is what they have planned. They're coming home with you. So put everybody on notice, not just the teacher, because just like when I went to Aveda Spa in Dartmouth and they said, oh, it's not us that doesn't allow you in with a mask, it's the Cosmetology Association. Go to the Cosmetology Association. Oh, it's not us, it's the Robert Strang, you know, Bob, Bobby, you know, and we're holding these guys. I'm holding you, Bob Strang, who is the acting health minister. It's not, he's really not a health minister. He's a disease minister, because this is what it's causing. Putting masks on kids to reduce their oxygen is criminal. And I'm personally holding him accountable, because all the roads lead up to this one guy who's made that mandate, who in a Cape Breton Post back in May said masks were useless. So suddenly, he got wrapped on the fingers from the corrupt cabal because he's not scaring the people enough, and had to change. Now he had to put all kids, all kids that are over grade 4 in a mask. Because if you're under grade 4, you're somehow protected. No, it's that you're still listening to your intuition under 4. You're not going to obey. You know, you're not going to listen to what they say. These are the smart ones. These are the smart kids. So where am I? A rant. Breathe. Not just the teachers. That's right. So it's not just the teachers you have to notify. You have to notify the principal. You have to notify the school board, and then ask the school board where they get their orders and notify them. So there is this common law, this bylaw, and if anyone's watching that has a copy of that, if not, I'll paste it later. But this bylaw is what you need to show them, that we as Canadians are not going to stand for this for our kids, and put them on notice. We will hold you, and name them in a letter that you'll give to them, name them personally accountable for any injury, detainment, masking, injections of your child. And the last thing is, again, to find support, to find support groups. So I know Shannon, I don't know if Shannon's watching, but Shannon had developed a group for mothers, and no mask group. I would suggest calling it a different, not even putting the word mask in the title, calling it like brilliant mothers, not smart mothers, because we have kind of, you know, already a connotation negative around smart and masks, but call it something like Brilliant Mothers of Nova Scotia, because that's what it is. When you have a brilliance, you want to take care of your kids. You don't want to put them into a corrupt system that's going to put a mask on them like a muzzle, like they were a slave, and then inject them with chemicals without your permission. You know, you're signing over your kids to the government. Now, this is what they did with the Aboriginal kids, right, in the 1800s. The parents were forced to sign their kids over. The kids were injected. The kids were killed. The kids were molested. They were sex trafficked through tunnels in Canada, right? This has been happening. This is our Canadian government. The government officials that are in now, they're part of this whole corrupt system. And it's not new. They already have their plan in place. They already know how it worked with the Indigenous people. Now they've just moved it to include us. So it's not a new concept. And I'm sorry, you know, if it's hard to hear, right? It's hard to hear that the government's not protecting you anymore. And if you don't wake up, your kids are going to be the ones that suffer for your ignorance. So parents, get together. If you're fighting with a spouse over this issue, we will hold you accountable. Thank you, Heather. Yes, find support. Thank you. If you're fighting over your kids right now, I mean, I went through a divorce. I know, sometimes you use things just to kind of hurt each other. But please, rise above that and think about what's best for your kids. And the parent that's more enlightened and has more of this information, the duty is to kind of share it with the person that doesn't. They might not want to hear it from you. They may have to hear it from their golfing buddies if it's a guy. Or a woman may have to hear it from her, group of friends. Or, you may have to get a minister involved and educate the minister in your community. Or somebody that they hold as an authority. you know, because it's obviously not God, because God wouldn't put these injected chemicals and allow our kids to be put in a system where they're treated like animals in an experiment. So you may have to go to an authority that they respect. So what else did I want to say? The Brilliant Mother groups. So where has this led me? Last night we held our first common law assembly, and we're trying to develop a common law assembly here in Nova Scotia. Actually, we've had so much interest, we're going to call it, I think, the Atlantic Common Law Assembly, because these laws that have been put in place by our Central Council all over Canada need to be enforced in our individual locations or individual provinces. So this is what we're trying to set up now. What is common law? So common law is common to the land, right? It puts all people equal. It gives us access to our resources without our foods being poisoned. You know, it's what was here before the corrupt governments came in play. And, you know, the civil law, the current crown that we work under, and papal law are kind of here, and international common law is one above that. Okay, so people say, well, does it work? Is this a scam? Well, in 2013, Pope Early was forced out of his position because of sex crimes. You see, papal law protects popes and priests. They can, you know, abuse kids, they can kill kids, they can murder them, they can create sex trafficking rings. The Vatican can hold all that inside this under the papal law. But the international law held him accountable. So right now, Pope Benedict is hiding out in the Vatican because if he comes out, he will be arrested. And again, another question that we had last night in this Common Law Assembly was, could our court systems enforce this? Yes, they could, but most of the courts and judges and are under this corrupt queen. So again, it's important for us to attach to something higher than the corrupt system. And from all of what I've seen so far, international law is it. Because I've exhausted the other system. This is why I'm so, you know, worked up and emotional, because for 2 years, like since they suspended my chiropractic license, and I was a chiropractor for 22 years. I've seen a lot of kids, mothers in that time. It was painful for me to have to let that go in order to follow a higher service. So in the last 2 years, I wrote a lot of emails. I wrote emails. I went to New Brunswick, spoke at the New Brunswick legislature when they were trying to push through mandatory vaccines. So I've emailed all the MLAs in New Brunswick, all the MLAs, 49 in New Brunswick, 51 here in Nova Scotia. I've been communicating with them. I've been sending them the research. No one's replied. If there has been posted, Tara Lynn, on my Facebook page. It's we, you know, are in accordance to the World Health Organization. Vaccines are safe and effective, and we can understand maybe you're not in agreement, but this is our policy, basically. So that the letters that I did get back were kind of like, okay, we don't really care what you think or what you say. You know, we have our marching orders, and this is what we're going to do. So I'm speaking again from experience. If you don't believe me, email your MLA. If you think I'm making this up, email your MLA and ask them why they're contributing to a COVID scam, right? Because here in Nova Scotia, there has been 64 deaths of this so-called pandemic, right? 64 deaths. 59 of those were at Northwood Care Facility, and I've asked the question, did all those 58 have the flu shot? Because that, you know, increases their likelihood of death if you've had that corona sequence injected into you. And again, there's been no reply. You probably die every year of the flu there at the at Northwood Center. And again, a cell tower, 4G cell tower, 5G cell tower, just went up 500 feet down the road on one corner of the building. I did another video. I think that one is actually on my BitChute channel. So the videos that get removed from my YouTube, I put them on BitChute. So maybe I'll post that one of Northwood there too. But it's important for you to share this information. So every time I do a video, I try to download it. If you see a video you like, download it to your computer, because it may not be around for very long. Happening right now, they want to keep this information hidden from you because you are more easily manipulated and controlled if you're ignorant. So this is your defense, is being knowledgeable first and then taking back your power. I'm putting you on notice, teacher so-and-so, Sherry, Dawn, whatever your first name is. I will hold you personally accountable for any injury, detainment, masking of my child, shaming. This was another thing. last night, shaming your child, publicly embarrassing them because they're not wearing a mask. They are the smart kids. Oxygen. If those kids aren't wearing a mask, we need to be applauding them, not shaming them. What's wrong with our system? We are allowing it. So mothers, if you're masking up your kids and you're sending them to school, ask yourself why. Right? Now, again, if I had kids that were still in the system at this point, I wouldn't send them to school because I think it's unfair to put the kids in that stressful situation where our philosophy and your understanding of what the corrupt system is wouldn't put them there because it's dangerous for them and you're asking them to, fight the whole system just as little kids. I don't think it's fair for them. So I wouldn't recommend sending. Now, there's great homeschool programs. So I mentioned Parents Finding Support. There's homeschool programs. Again, Shannon's a good local person for that here in Nova Scotia, and she's homeschooling her kids. She has 2 girls and then a son who's autistic, and she's doing it all on her own. She's not a teacher. She's learning to be a teacher, and I've seen a great video she posted doing experiments, right, with volcanoes and all sorts of science experiments. She's taken this on because she really loves her kids and she understands the corruption of the system. You need to too. Okay? You need to too. And look, if you don't agree with me and you want to put your kids back in that system, I'm sharing with you kind of a plan B. Put them on notice. Give them the information that's been just put out by the Common Law of Canada, and I'm going to post that in here. And again, hold them accountable. Seek supports. So for other mothers that are brilliant in this way. So the meeting last night, we had, it started off, Jason Duff and myself met with Kevin Annett, and who has, been, he was kind of the chief, one of the advisors that had Pope Benedict resign, for these sex crimes. So we thought he'd be a good person to go to and look for information on how we can circumvent this corruption in this system and take our power back. And so we set up a Zoom call, and we thought, okay, we'll get a few people together in the living room of a friend, and we'll Zoom in Kevin, and we'll see what we can do about setting up this assembly, a local assembly, or like our local council, if you will, of common law. Well, that grew because we had people inquiring from Newfoundland and from New Brunswick and Quebec and Alberta and BC and Ontario, all over Canada. People are hungry for a solution to this corruption. And so Kevin says, open the Zoom call. Whatever you can take on the Zoom call, we'll take. So we did our meeting at 6 o'clock in a packed room. We couldn't even take any more people. There was 30 of us there in this living room. And we had Zoomed in about another 50 people and had this sort of conversation. Now, for those of you who are watching who were at that meeting, I tried to tape it. And I was so proud of myself for getting all the Zoom things hooked up and everyone on the line, and it didn't record. So I was really kind of taken back by that last night because we had such great questions and there was great information. I woke up and looked at my email, and there were some people that spoke that said they didn't want their identity revealed, or that they were worried about their jobs in government or their jobs in the military or their jobs in the police force or whatever it is, by exposing this. So I think it was kind of, divine intervention that the movie didn't record. But right after our meeting, we had an interview with Atlantic Underground Podcast. Really, Kevin and I was just sort of sitting there in the background, adding some information from the meeting. But that was a great podcast, Atlantic Underground Podcast, and Johnny and Chris are excellent, and I hope to post that video probably in the links or comments if they have it downloaded in this one. And that'll be one I'll send out to the people who were on the call last night too. So I haven't forgotten about you. I'm getting to you, but so I will send you a video. It just won't be the one of our meeting. And also, if you're listening and you were at that meeting last night, I won't be sharing emails. I mentioned about grouping up emails, so like the 14 people from New Brunswick, for example. I won't be doing that because there's some people that are wanting to be exempt, and they're not. I want to keep everyone's identity and respect their personal privacy. So if you are interested in setting up a local assembly, if you feel passionate about this and you want to really make a difference, I'd ask you to connect with the website, the Republic of Canada, and they can guide you. You can take on that responsibility if there's no assembly already in your area. There's none in Atlantic Canada, so we need people for Newfoundland, New Brunswick, PEI, and there's 44 assemblies, or about 40, I think, already established in Canada. Half of those are in Ontario, but Atlantic Canada, we need some leaders to step forward. And once they have a leader in that community, you know, I've sort of taken it on for here in Nova Scotia, but once you have a leader, then you can kind of formulate your assembly, and it's really this assembly that enforces that law. So this is your